Good morning, it's Nicole Abysinio. Today I want to talk about something that I mentioned in a previous talk when I was just talking about spiritual warfare. I want to talk about, well, I called them in that video plants, but I tend to refer to them as double agents. If you already know this, then you are in the know, that's fantastic, but if you don't, you are basically a sitting duck. Now, for me, I go to mass daily. I go to church all the time. It's something that I just love being there all the time. It gets me through my day. So much strength. I feel like my spiritual muscles are popping out. I call it Popeye spinach because that's what it feels like to me. But there's something in our church that is a problem, but it's a great strategy. If you were an enemy of the church, how would it be? What would be the best way to do that? To be a Trojan horse. And demonic worshippers, witchcraft people, have absolutely figured this out, and they have infiltrated our churches. And this is, I'm Catholic now, but I experienced this for the first time before I was even Catholic when I was Protestant. And I've experienced it then, and I've experienced it in the Catholic Church, no matter what church I went to along the way. There are double agents, which they come into our church and they pretend to be Catholic, they pretend to be holy, or they pretend to be Christians. They know the language, they've learned everything, they've learned how to be, quote unquote, one of us. Now, because of my experiences with witches, with voodoo people, with demonic worshippers, I can spot them pretty immediately. I just need to look into their eyes. And as soon as I lock eyes with them, I pretty much know. And not only do I know, and you could be thinking right now, she's crazy, that's not possible to happen, but I've literally confronted at least three of them, and they have all admitted to me that they are who I knew that they were. So once you confront them, they're pretty honest because they know that you know, and they know that they can't get by against you. So I personally prefer to out them, but regardless, you need to know that this exists. The point of this talk is we tend to go to church, and that's a safe space for us. That tends to be a place where we let our guard down. We're in a house of God. We're with Jesus. But the enemy is also fighting very hard to try to, get us out of the church, to get us away from the church. And you're seeing this right now, even with clergy. I mean, this is, again, 2020. So I feel we have free reign to talk about these things because, we're seeing it. We're seeing it with abuse scandals. We're seeing it with, people calling themselves Catholic and then speaking out. And I'm going to say this, I'm sorry if this offends anyone, it does not matter because it's the truth. If you're a Catholic, you cannot be for abortion. You cannot be for murdering preborn babies under any circumstance. That is an intrinsic evil. So we're seeing this of people saying that they're in the church, saying that they're a Christian, saying that they're a Catholic, and with that same mouth speaking out against the Lord, against everything that is good and godly, just everything that's holy. So some of these people now, because it's 2020, are completely coming out of the closet. I mean, you just are starting to get to know who everybody really is on both sides. But there is still a great element within the church who are practicing demonic worship, who are practicing, spiritual warfare against God's people, undercover, covertly, without a lot of people knowing it. Here's what's amazing. You will see them almost trying to look like the holiest person. They will be there often. They will want to be a volunteer. They will want to be a sacristan. They will want to, be heading a prayer group because of exactly those reasons. They want the access to the Eucharist. They want access to be able to lay hands on you. Do not let people, I'm all for the charismatic movement. You have to be extremely careful not to have anyone just laying hands on you. Do not give them permission to do this. You can get in a lot of trouble that way. It's fine if they want to pray for you, 1,000%, but they do not need to lay their hands on you. And again, that's something that I'll talk about in a future episode. So back to this. I think that the gift of discernment from God, if you can ask for that, because it's a gift of the Holy Spirit, that's what's really helped me. There was a gentleman at a church who was a leader at a church I was going to, and the church is dark. So you can't, that particular church doesn't have a lot of natural light in there. But he had asked after Mass one day if we could meet for lunch to talk about ministry. Well, the second that I met him and sat down with him, looked in his eyes and shook his hand, I knew immediately. And I said to him, so the first thing out of my mouth, so who in your family does voodoo? Who's a voodoo doctor? And he sat back, blown away. And he said, how do you know that? And I said, I know a lot of things. And, the cat was out of the bag. So he proceeds to tell me that, he himself was a king voodoo doctor, his entire family, it was generationally, and then he was indoctrinated in, that he has, two demons that he's been given to guide, but that he, became Catholic because this is what's always interesting. They always know, and they always will admit, this is what he said, the Catholic Church was the only thing he ever experienced that had more power than him, that had power over his voodoo, magic, witchcraft, whatever you want to call it. And because of that, he started to go that way. However, a lot of people that were in this, when they go to be part of the Catholic Church, they don't stop doing the witchcraft. And you'll see this a lot in Mexico, the Santeria. You see it in Haiti. There's a mixture of Christianity with whatever demonic, a house divided itself is going to fall. You cannot do both. So I told him that he could get rid of, because he said he had the two demons that were with him from the voodoo that he used to help him. And I said, you need to get rid of those. I said, you can't do that. You can't play both sides. You can't have both. And he said straightforward to me, I don't want to get rid of them. They help me. I like having them around. So he was clearly doing things, and I saw continued witchcraft that he did against the priests, against people in the church. He was always saying, how can I pray for you today? Getting to know the people, finding out what their weak points were, because, yes, they have the ability, they do have some demonic abilities to know things. God knows everything, but demons do know some things. They know half-truths, and they are able to, have psychic abilities and these different things that are horrible, and they're not from God, but Satan does know a lot, let's admit it. So what they don't know, they find out from the people themselves, especially if they're not that powerful in the demonic realm. So they'll, you'll see bad things happening to the people in the church because those people are saying, oh, my husband's sick. Well, don't tell somebody that's not praying for you, but that's praying against you, that your husband's sick. Now you have this person, and they are very dedicated, staying up all night, all hours of the night, praying against your husband's illness, who he's already weak. The Lord is fighting for him. But the last thing he needs is additional problems. He doesn't need a bigger fight against him, especially when he is weak in that area, So they want to know your weakness. They want to know how you're sinning. They want to know, who is weak in the Lord, or who is, who in your family is susceptible to harm. And if you don't know this is going on, which is interesting that a lot of people don't know that this is happening, it's very important to the realm of spiritual warfare. It has helped me in so many ways to be able to fight, to be able to steer clear, to be able to navigate those things. And again, this has been in multiple I've been churches all over the country, and this is what happens. And again, now you're seeing this in clergy, and I have to mention this before I try to keep these under 10 minutes. I'll do another one on a lot of what's happening with the abuses. Don't just think that because someone is has become a priest, they may have from the very beginning, had the intention to infiltrate and harm the church. Saint Maximillian Kolbe, you can look this up. He talked about this. They marched on the Vatican, and I believe, don't quote me on, I thought it was the 1920s. And Kolbe got very concerned and very scared and started an organization of spiritual warfare of his own in God's people to fight what they had promised they would do. They promised they were going to infiltrate the church. They promised they were going to bring Satan on the inside. Listen, they're just doing their job. God is stronger. God is so much stronger. He is going to protect us. He is going to save us. He's going to help us. But he says in scripture, he's very clear about it. Let me reason with you. He wants us to have knowledge. He wants us to have wisdom. He wants us to be wise as serpents, innocent as doves, okay? So he wants us to have this knowledge. He doesn't want us just sitting there, like, ducks at the ready crossing, you're going to just shoot them all. He wants us to have the information, have the knowledge, so we know how to pray, we know how to avoid, we know how to fight, we know how to protect, and then going to the Lord in all these different ways so that we can cover ourselves in Jesus' blood and in the sacraments and all these wonderful warfare prayers that we have and in the Bible to protect us against these things. So please comment if you have questions. I know I'm talking about a lot of things that people don't talk about, but that's something that God has called me to and given me a special grace to not be afraid to do those things, because I know it's going to help a lot of people. So yes, please subscribe. Let me know what you'd like me to talk about next. Thanks so much, guys. God bless you.